Hey and welcome to this lesson where we're going to be really focusing on goal setting and having the right mindset for the hobby. Now this isn't just for the tactics and strategies on the table, but it's also a much wider aspect to make sure that people really maximize the value, the experience and the enjoyment that they get from the hobby. These things that I'm going to discuss in this lesson are all key skills that I've learned over my career as being a coach for nutrition, fitness, and it's one that I think has such a wide range and versatility across many different aspects, but is actually so important for the game of 40k and actually how we go about improving as a player. So I really hope you enjoy this lesson. It's going to stop things like feeling burnt out, not sure what you should do with your army, or feeling just like you're in a bit of a flunk and not motivated to either paint or play. These tips and strategies that if you start implementing, I can tell you you're going to start to see much better results. And it's one of the things that our students always say might not be in the video that they picked to watch, but it was certainly one of the most valuable ones once they finished watching it. And I really hope you do get the value from it. So if you want to get access to the rest of the Academy course and all the other lessons in this module, all 170 of them, then you can just click the link below in the description and find out more information about joining and enrolling on our signature Academy course.
It's time to look at goal setting, all right? And this has many applications. And in fact, we've got some lovely live lessons on it as well, as you may have already watched with Josh Ford. But we're going to talk about it here with a perspective on both tournaments and, of course, everything else. So being more of an expert on goal setting, Stephen, take it away. What is a goal? How do we set them?
Well, I think the first thing to do is to discuss the importance of it. Why should we actually have a goal? And it's to help us determine what is success, what is failure, to give us some sort of tangible marker of our progress. And often a goal can be something that really pushes us to achieve more, to give us like an internal sense of accomplishment. And now there's different types of goals. Some are external. So, hey, you won this, you get loads of cash. Or, hey, you won this and you should feel really good inside about it. So some of that would be like a intrinsic or internal reward rather than an extrinsic external reward. Okay, so when we're setting a goal, what we want to be thinking about is the kind of levels of them. All right. And I typically think about goals as what is my non-negotiable, what absolutely has to happen when I'm going to be in pursuit at this venture, whether it's a tournament, whether it's getting my army painted, what is the non-negotiable goal? Okay. And this wants to be so easy. It kind of happens without even thinking about it. And when you finish it, you're like, cool, I hit my non-negotiable goal. If all else goes to fail, I've achieved something. Okay.
Right, okay. So in terms of a tournament, let's talk about it from a tournament perspective, just so it's a bit easier to follow.
Yeah.
What would you say would be one of your non-negotiable goals when going to an event?
Okay, so I'm going to give you a few different ones. I want to turn up. I just want to buy a ticket and turn up to the event. Now that might be for somebody that might be suffering a little bit from maybe the feeling a bit anxious about going to a tournament, but simply buying the ticket and turning up at the right time with their army might have been enough of a thing to actually go, hey, I've got my army in my bag, I've got everything I need, and I went through the process of preparing for the tournament, and I just needed to walk through the door. And even if you get there and go, hey, I'm going to drop and I'm not going to play, you achieved your non-negotiable goal, was just to go through the preparation stage and actually walk through the door. And I think for many people, that is something that is not even considered as a goal, and I really think it probably should be your first ever one, okay? Because you've done it. The next time you go, the whole worry and the stress and the anxiety you might have about getting your army ready and getting to the tournament, you've done it. It was easy, and then you can actually hopefully enjoy some games. So that could be a non-negotiable goal.
Yeah, well said. I mean, that's fantastic. And if you haven't been to a tournament or an event like that, then that's our personal goal for you.
Yeah.
You know, go for it, absolutely. For maybe a more experienced player who has overcome that hurdle, what would you say is a good non-negotiable goal?
Okay, so non-negotiable goal, if you've already been to a tournament maybe, might be to, hey, I'm going to play all 5 games and I'm going to finish all 5 rounds. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I play every single turn. I'm not going to run out of time at turn 2 or turn 3. I'm going to play every single round of every single game I play. And that might be a really good, solid, non-negotiable goal to actually happen, okay? You know, you could also say, hey, well, I'm also going to be a great opponent in all of my games. So I'm going to manage how I interact with you. I'm going to manage how I interact also with myself and my own feelings about how the game have gone. And I'm going to constantly be a good sport and a great opponent at the tabletop. For me, that is always my non-negotiable goal when I go to a tournament.
Like that, okay. And then what would you say for someone that is a veteran at tournaments? What might be a non-negotiable goal for them?
Well, again, it could be a non-negotiable. I want to make a new friend. I want to bring someone into the community that I haven't. I want to help somebody at the tournament that maybe is new to tournaments, or I want to try and, like we said, be a great opponent, because I think we want to keep ourselves at a very high standard. Or do you know what? I want to get all of my rules correctly as best as I possibly can, and I'm always going to seek clarity from a referee if I'm unsure. Okay, that could be a really good non-negotiable. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So non-negotiable, what's our next type of goal?
Okay, so this would be something that's a little bit more achievable. Okay, so in terms of the non-negotiable absolutely will happen. This is a little bit more harder, but still within the realms of sort of possibility to achieve.
Okay, so we have to work for this one.
Yeah.
All right, and what would you say is a good one for someone that's overcome that initial hurdle?
So someone that's already overcome the initial hurdle, they're at the event, maybe an achievable one could be for those first few people that have just come to the tournament, might be, I want to finish all my games on time. I don't want to run, I don't want to run over. And that might be a really good achievable goal to make sure that they are playing all of the turns of the game. If you're somebody that's already able to do that, then what's that next logical thing? It might be, okay, cool. Well, maybe I want to score 30 points for every single game I play, but for the primary.
Okay.
I just want to score 30 points on primary every single game as a minimum.
Right.
Okay. So then every single game you would have scored a minimum of 40. That's 30 points on primary. That's 10 points for painted, and then you could set an achievable goal for your secondaries. It might be, okay, I want to score 20 points in every game for secondaries.
Okay. Very interesting. So this is irrespective of the opponent.
Yeah.
And I notice you've not put this as a win a certain number of games. You've looked at the points here. What's the thinking behind just looking at points?
I think for me, rather than focusing on how many games you can win, is you're not going to know who you're going to play. You're not going to know what faction you're going to play against. The variables are so random. What I would urge you to do is find the variables that are less random, that you can actually take under control and focus on minor improvements. The best analogy I can ever think of is going to the gym. Okay, so me saying that I want to win, I want to go 3-2 at this tournament is a bit like me saying, right, you're going to go to the gym and bench 100 kilos. You've set a goal that you have no clue whether you can achieve it or not. What you need to do and go to the gym is think, right, well, how much can I lift for the first ever time safely and effectively? So that's like, how much can you lift whilst getting your rules right, not cheating, and finishing on time is the safely part, right? So, okay, maybe it's 20 kilos, maybe it's just the bar. But then the next time you go, you're like, right, well, if I add on, what's the smallest increment I can find to make it a little bit harder and to push myself a little bit more? So I'm going to go from 20 to 22 kilos, up to 25 kilos, up to 27 kilos, up to 30, 32, 35, so on and so forth, until you reach that 100 mark of being able to bench 100 kilos. But it's about small, progressive little goals. Okay, so in order to determine this, a great way to do is look at maybe the last 3 practice games you've had and take an average of your primary score and then take an average of your secondary scores and think, can you, when you go to a larger tournament, even keep it consistent to your practice games? Because the tournament standard might well be harder than your local scene. It's not always the case, but sometimes it can be the case.
Okay, fantastic. I really, really like that. And then what would you say is our next type of goal?
Okay, so the next one is like a stretch goal. It's still possible, but it's going to be hard. And this could be something like, okay, I want to finish as best Black Templars player in the event.
Okay.
And that's a pretty tough goal. You could be a little bit more ambitious here. And again, this isn't necessarily determining on, how many games that you win. It might, and if you still focus on how many points you can score in each game, then, at some point your opponent won't score as many points as you, and you will achieve a victory over a loss. But yeah, winning something like a best in faction means that you are the highest finished player of your chosen faction compared to everybody else that has chosen that faction. Okay. Now, my top tip for this, if you do want to win a best in faction, is pick the one nobody plays, and you'll always win it.
Yeah. So there's some factors here, and what I like is that the stretch goal has a lot more factors that maybe you don't even have control over.
Yeah.
Like there could be more people playing Black Templars. Maybe one of the best players in the world has just started playing Black Templars.
Yeah.
And now you've got some very hard competition. And who knows, you could play someone round one that is one of the best in the world with a different faction and they just beat you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different factors here. So stretch goal being the best in faction. And I like how our achievable of scoring points now starts to build up to our stretch goal.
Yeah. Or it could be like, I want to win most sporting. That is what I want to do, is I want to win the most sporting award, or I want to win best painted. There's all different ways that tournaments will, I suppose, kind of give you that incentive. Maybe it's best in bracket. And what best in bracket means is out of all the people that went 3 and 2, you were the one with the highest battle points. So again, this comes back down to looking at our goal where we're just trying to score more points. Okay, because what that incentivizes you to do is when you're at the table and I'm up against Michael, one of the best players in the world, and he's playing, he's using the worst counter to my army. And I'm sat there thinking, this is going to be bad, I'm going to lose. Rather than that negative mindset, I can be like, cool, this is a learning opportunity that I get to play against Michael, one of the best players in the world, with a faction that I find so hard to beat. I'm going to learn a lot from how Michael plays this game. I'm then going to ask him some questions at the end of the game about how he thought I played and if there's anything I could have done differently. Meanwhile, I'm going to focus on my goal, which is to finish all 5 rounds against Michael. I also want to finish with 20 points on my primary, or the 30-point primary and the 20-point secondary, to think, right, okay, cool, I played against Michael, but hey, I got 60 points off him. That's not bad, right?
No, I like that. I think that's absolutely fantastic mindset. And the points are so important because it also helps you not get intimidated or distracted by who you might be playing. So yeah, great advice.
And again, it's one of those things that there becomes later on like a hierarchy of things that you can do. Okay. And what this means is when you actually turn up to the table, as you progress through more and more rounds and you become more experienced at the game, you can look at your points in a very different way. So if I was completely new to the game, apart from just trying to finish my games, what I would just try to do is, can I score a certain amount on primary every single game? That would be the first thing I would look at. Okay, let's just focus on scoring primary points. Once I've achieved that, then I'm going to start looking at, okay, how many points can I achieve on the secondaries? Okay, well, and then the next stage after that is, okay, cool, I'm going to score my primary, I'm going to score my secondaries, and now I need to deny Michael some of his primary points. And then that 4th stage is, okay, I need to score my primary, score my secondaries, deny Michael primary where I can, and now I need to try and deny Michael points on his secondaries. This is like another level of thinking, okay? Then you've got okay, cool, well, even before I get to the event, how can I adjust my list so that in case I play against these people, that I don't give up too many secondaries, that I've got all the tools in the toolbox to score as many secondary points as I can based on the experience I know with the mission pack and the deployment types and all the units that are out there and are doing really, really well. And then finally, you need to add in, how do you assess the meta to see what the landscape of the tournament looks like, to see what those top factions are, and then putting in those units to make sure you've got, the counter plays and all the units that you think are going to help you achieve goals 1, 2, 3, and 4. But these are all progressive. And I think a lot of people get bogged down with trying to sort of run before they can walk. They're trying to, I'm going to stop you from, scoring this secondary. But actually, it doesn't matter because it's not going to change the game outcome because you didn't focus on scoring your primaries.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't say it better. Now, we talk about goal setting a lot, and we've talked about those achievable, non-negotiable, and stretch goals. What advice can you give to people, even in like their menial hobby tasks, like getting a unit painted? What steps can they take to make sure that they try and reach those goals?
Okay, so a lot of us are quite time poor. And I know that one of the things might be, well, I just don't have the time to do what's necessary to, improve. Okay, maybe you only get to play once every month or once every couple of weeks. There are so many other things and other skills that you can do and practice to help you achieve more. Okay, now I really love, there's two techniques you can use. One of them is habit stacking. Now, you probably all habit stack every single morning without even knowing it. And it's called your morning routine.
Okay.
So just think now what you do in the morning when you wake up, okay? For me, I get up, I would need to run to the bathroom because I'm normally bursting to urinate. I'll urinate, I'll then weigh myself, okay? Because I'm conscious about, my weight and what that's doing in relationship to my training. Then what I'll do is I'll have a shower, I'll get out, I'll brush my teeth, I'll dry my hair, I'll do my hair, I'll get dressed. Like, this happens without thinking. I've habit stacked all these little tiny tasks into one big habit, which is my morning routine before I get ready to leave the house to go to work.
Okay, fantastic. And how can we use this in let's say someone's time poor, they can't play games very often. Can we use this to help improve our skills at the tabletop?
Yeah. So it might be, okay, there might be for example, a point in your day where you're like, right, okay, do you know what? I get 15 minutes here. So in that 15 minutes, I'm going to do the following, 3 habits. Habit number 1 is going to be set up the table based on a mission of the tournament pack.
Okay.
All right, so cool. That's going to take you 5 minutes to, roll the mat out, get the terrain out, put it in the right places, put the objective markers down, 5 to 10 minutes, okay, to do that. Well, number 2 is think, okay, well, what I'm going to do then in point number 2 is, once I've done that, I'm going to deploy my army. I'm not even going to worry about an opponent's army. I'm just going to deploy my army where I think it could fit if I play against a shooting army. So I want to hide all my stuff. Habit number 3 is, okay, cool, I've deployed it once, going against a shooting army. How do I now deploy it against a combat army? Okay, cool. And that might take you 15 to 20 minutes to do those 3 things. But hey, you've got in 2 deployments against 2 different types of armies. So when you get to the table at the tournament, you're like, oh yeah, mission 1, yeah, I know that objective goes here, and I know those terrain pieces go there, and I know that I put this unit here because I thought about the character aura or the unit that it needs to give +1 to hit to because it's a tech marine and it gives +1 to hit to a vehicle, and I know it wants to go here because the firing lanes are there. You've already done the thinking because you did this every single day in your habit stack and you went through every single mission, and that took you, 20 minutes. Another technique you can do is a if-then statement. So if this happens, then you're going to do the following. All right?
Okay, so what example could you give for this?
Okay, so if I'm drinking my morning coffee, if that's something that you found that you do every single day, is if you drink, your morning coffee, then in the week leading up to the event, then you're going to pick an army list randomly from Best Coast pairings, and then decide if you're going to play fixed or tactical against it.
Great.
Okay? Super simple. So rather than maybe reading your morning newspaper or, scrolling through Instagram or whatever it is you do when you're, having your breakfast and drinking your morning coffee, or maybe if I'm on the commute to work, then I'm going to, again, look through those army lists and think, right, if it was mission 1, I know it's Dawn of War deployment, randomly determine a list, 1,000 Suns. How many characters do they have? Do they give up assassinate points? How many vehicles do they have? Do they give up any bring it down? Do they have any ways to deny, my deep strikes? Would that stop me taking deployed teleport homers, for example, or behind enemy lines? These are all just simple things that you can do, but you need to think about what those statements are going to be. Find those 5 to 20 minute slots where you can actually implement some tangible outcomes, which are all little micro things to help you achieve your goal, which will be to score so many primary and secondary points in all of your games. Okay?
I mean, that's fantastic. And I kind of wish we'd said some of this before we started the course, because actually 15 minutes is a great amount of time to watch one of our videos from the Academy.
Yep.
So if you do get to this point and you've watched this before, maybe some of the other course content, or you want to go back and watch it, then if I've had my morning coffee, I'm going to watch a lesson from the Academy.
Yep. If I'm driving on to work, I'll put an audio on.
Perfect.
Easy, right?
Perfect. Yeah, well, fantastic.
No worries.
Anything else to add for goal setting?
Yeah, I think, you know, you've probably all heard of the kind of make smart goals, right? Make them specific, make them measurable, achievable, make sure they're realistic as well, and then also have some sort of time scale on it. You know, obviously apply those principles when you can to all the sort of goals that you set. You probably want to sit down and think, okay, right, what's my long-term goal for the year? And I'll tell you what, I'm a bit guilty of this. I sometimes don't do that, and I need to. It's going to be my new year, every single new year or every single season. That is exactly what I'm going to do. After LVO, if I finish LVO, then I'm going to write my new goal for that next coming season for the year. So that's like a long-term goal, like what we call a macro goal. And then it needs to be smart, so specific, measurable, etc., etc. Then I'm going to break that down into maybe like what we call meso goals, which you maybe have 4 of those, like every 12 weeks, what you're trying to work for. So it could be every quarter, I want to attend a 2-day tournament. That could be a pretty achievable goal. It's realistic, it's time-bound, and yeah, there's nothing else to it apart from turning up and playing those events. And then you might have micro goals, which is, okay, cool, I want to practice my deployment for the mission pack against 5 different armies. I want to pick, you know, 10 different, whatever that is, small little goals that you can implement that are going to help build up to those meso goals, and that then build up to that year-long goal, which might be, I want to finish in the top 10 of my faction for the world or my country, which could be some really cool best in faction awards that you might go for.
Well, thanks for going through all of those goal-setting factors, and we have some tasks for you down below, some habit stack concepts, and some goals to set yourself before your next game, before your next event. Have a go at it and let us know how you get on. But otherwise, time to prep for those tournaments by looking at some packs. And we'll see you in the next video.
We really hope you've enjoyed that video. And again, it's one that I think has so much value if you really start to implement some of those steps. Now, if you want to get access to the rest of the Academy course, we'd love to see you as part of our communities. We have an amazing Discord, live lessons happening every week where you can ask our expert coaches their advice to really get a much more insider idea about what you should be doing with your army list, your playstyle, and improving you as a player. But most importantly, be part of a community that really strives to improve, to be the ambassadors for sportsmanship, fair play, and also be amazing opponents at the table. So if you'd like to join us, we'd love to see you. Click the link, find out for more, and hopefully we'll see you very soon.